On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1979. We're going to be taking a look at Bob Marley, and he's going to be performing No Woman, No Cry. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So let's get Bob up on screen and see how he gets on.
Everybody and everyone have the answer. Everyone have the answer. You don't fool yourself. Everyone have the answer. Everyone knows what can bring this unity. People don't let them use or not. No woman, no cry. No woman, no man, no cry. I say, no woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. I say, I remember when we used to sit in the government yard in Trenchtown, observing the hypocrites as they would mingle with the good people we meet. Good friends we have, oh good friends we've lost along the way. Say, in this great future which is life, you can't forget your past. So dry your tears, I say, and then no woman no cry. No woman, no woman no cry. Woman no cry. No. Please don't shed no tear. No woman. No woman no cry. I say, I remember when we used to sit in the government yard in Trenchtown, and then Georgie would make the firelight as it was logwood burning through the night. Then we would cook cornmeal porridge, well, a minute of which I'll share with you. See, my feet here is my only carriage. So I've got to push on through. But while I'm gone, everything's gonna be alright. Everything is gonna be alright. Well, everything is gonna be alright, child. Everything is gonna be alright. Well, everything is gonna be alright, child. Everything is gonna be alright. Yes, everything is gonna be alright, child. Everything is gonna be alright. So woman, no cry. Oh no, don't shed no tears. No woman, no cry.
I'm just going to jump in here. As always, the link to this video is going to be in the description below, so you guys can watch it the whole way through without me interrupting it. Bob Marley was such a unique blend of so many things, Because in this performance, obviously the songwriting ability and the melody and the appreciation of that melody that he would put over basic chord progressions, but it's all about the feel of the music. But having this voice that is impossible to imitate, because Bob, when he was singing, he would sometimes get more into that conversational quality, and this is the great thing about everything that he wrote. It always had a message within the song, but the way that he sang it meant that sometimes he would be perfectly on pitch, and we are going to be pointing out a few of those occasions here where he is so spot on pitch-wise, but then he also leans into his sound, gets a little bit of rasp, and then is a little bit more rough around the edges where he wants to be. He just accessed that perfect pitch when he wanted it, and then just threw it to the side when he's making a different point and really driving home the message of the song. So it's such a unique blend of vocal techniques that he hasn't worked on this. It's just his voice and the way that he sings and the way that he puts emotion into his vocal as well. And that's why it's impossible to copy this kind of delivery live and on the records, because Bob, when he got in the studio, would just give you the live version. The other thing that we had with Bob's voice is the way that he would lean into chest voice, and when he pushed it towards the top of that register, he got that rasp in there, that tone, the unmistakable tone. I have rewound the video a little bit just to signify what I was talking about earlier, about that accuracy of pitch. Just listen to this, and this is the second verse, but the accuracy, but also the emotion that's in there as well, just hitting these notes dead between the eyes. Let's have a listen.
I say, I remember when we used to sit in the government yard in Trenchtown, and then Georgie would make the firelight as it was bloodwood burning through the night.
And there we have it, a great example there at the end of that phrase where Bob just applies a little bit of vibrato to the end of that line, which he hadn't done previously. So with his voice, you always got something that was unique, and he'd never deliver a line the same way twice. Another thing to mention is that the melody line that's being sung here isn't straightforward by any stretch of the imagination, because it jumps all over the place. And just taking those first two lines of that second verse as the example, where Bob just nails it, he sings through, I remember where we used to sit. And doing that slowly, I remember where we used to sit in the government yard in Trenchtown. You can hear how it's going na 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 na. There's so many modifications of pitch that we go through there, but of course when you're listening to Bob deliver it, it doesn't sound like he's singing. Even though he is singing, he's just got such a great quality to his voice where it's like listening to a guy talk. Just busting out the guitar so that you guys know what chords are going on here. And the guitar work in this is actually minimal rhythm-wise, and in other songs we do have more of an emphasis on the guitar. But like I said, it's not as prevalent here. So I'll give you the chords if you want to busk along to this performance or just the song in general. We've got a simple chord progression. We've got our C, and then we're going down to what would be a G. That's how you want to play it, but you want to play it from your A string. So we go from our B here. So that's going from the C to then the B that you're playing with the G. Just think of it as a G, but playing that second string down to the A minor. Then we go to an F. And then we go to a C. And then we're going to, what I would do is play a simplified F. So we've got this. So So that's my third finger on the third fret of the D string, second finger, second fret of the G string, and first finger, first fret of the B string. And playing that, it means that we get this sound, and we can go. So we get a little bit of the run in there that you can hear the other instrumentation playing. So putting that all together, we've got. And there, I'm putting in a little run at the end, which you might want to throw in with a full G chord. Before then going back to the C, and all I was doing there after the little F rundown, C, and then the G, and the notes of the riff that are going on before we then get back into the chorus, the revolution of it, we're going like that, and then going back to the G at the end there. So that was the G, the A, the B, back to the G, and then back into the C from that point. And then, like I said, we'll go into another revolution around in the chorus. That kind of thing. You might have heard in other songs where there's literally just one strum on 2 and 4 of the bar. So if we're applying that to this song, it means that we have 1, 2, 3, 4. If we're going double time, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And taking the progression, we'll be going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then you go back into that run. But you can start to feel that reggae groove coming in because we're just strumming on 2 and 4 of the bar, that 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just something that has that feel, that personality, and even more so if you throw in a little upstroke, which is something that you'll also hear with Bob Marley compositions, that little upstroke thrown in there as well. So going 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, a little upstroke, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and obviously you go into the rundown there if you're playing what I've just shown you. But let's get back into the performance and we'll watch it until the end.
Close my little sister, don't shed no tears. No, no woman, one man, no cry. I
And there we have it. So, unfortunately, towards the end of the film there, the sound started to go a little bit. It sounded like a dodgy XLR lead or something just needed to be fiddled around with in order to get that signal to come through. So it wasn't the best audio quality, but we had some really tasteful guitar work going on there. And obviously this is all going to be in C, and it sounds like we're using some major pentatonic shapes in there and a little bit of minor pentatonic as well. So just to show you guys quickly the basis of what's going on with the lead work and also the fills, because it's always good to know, we're in C, and the first run that we have up with the lead guitar is like that. So it means that we're just in the major pentatonic shape here, and this is all based off the shape 1. So what's happened is that extended shape hasn't been used. It's all shape 1, but it will look like it's extended because once you play through, you can actually take a few extra notes if you want to go further down the guitar neck. Rather than staying in this shape 1, you can take your A string down 2 frets and then just continue that down, which gives you your root note, but then you can go 1 note further down than your root note with the first finger. So taking that same principle, if we're now starting in this position where the first finger is 2 notes underneath our root note, which is normally where your first finger would be for shape 1, like that, it means that I can move that shape now down to the A string as well. And that's where the slide came in the run that I played when I just started demonstrating it. And as we progress, do the same slide on the G string, so that's just the octave of the slide that we did before. So far we've got like that. And then we can jump down to the B string. And if you want to do the 3rd octave of that slide, that's where we'll end up. So altogether we have like that. And once you start relating that to your shape 1, you'll have so many options of things that you can play, different lines that you can come up with. You can slide between the shapes underneath. Slide. Like that. And as you probably would have heard, because I'm ending on A, it sounds like I'm playing an A minor. It's exactly the same shape for C. So if I just end on the C, that first finger, then it now makes sense in C, even though it's exactly the same shape that I was just playing in A minor. And those 2 chords, A minor and C, are called relatives because they share the same notes in their scales, as you can probably start to work out by now. I don't want this video to go on for too long, but I do want to cover some of the history, and with Bob there is a lot, so I'll do my best to cover it as quickly as possible. Bob started playing music at school with his friend Neville Livingston, and Neville would later be known as Bunny Wailer. And sadly, when Bob was only 10 years of age, his father died from a heart attack, and his father was 70 years of age, and he had married Bob's mother when she was 18 years of age, so there's quite an age difference between them. But Bob's mum and Bunny's dad then got together. I'm going to refer to Neville as Bunny from here on in. So now they were sharing a house rather than just being at school together. So it meant that their musical creation could go into overdrive. So they started getting involved with other vocalists. None of them played an instrument at this point. So the vocal group that they found themselves in included Joe Higgs from Higgs and Wilson. And Joe Higgs would be the one who actually taught Bob how to play the guitar in the first place. And Bob started recording in 1972, and this was on Beverly's record label, and he used the name Bobby Martell. The band of vocalists, or the group of vocalists, then started to come up for a name for themselves, and eventually they settled on the Wailers. So they got into the studio, and in 1964 they released Simmer Down, and this was a huge hit for them. It got to number 1 in the Jamaican charts, sold over 70,000 copies, and that led to them working with a lot of established Jamaican musicians. In 1966 they did go through some personnel changes, but the trio of Bob, Bunny and Peter Tosh remained. In the late 60s and 70s, they started to lean more towards a guitar sound rather than the ska classic of trumpets and saxophones, and in 1971 they released an album called The Best of the Wailers, and this wasn't a best of album, it was just the title that they gave to that specific album. In 1972, Bob signed with CBS Records, and at the same time, the Wailers were introduced to Chris Blackwell from Island Records, and Chris was on the lookout for a replacement for Jimmy Cliff, who they'd just lost from Island Records. So he said that as soon as he saw Bob walk into the room, he just fitted the bill for the image and the attitude and then the sound that they wanted on Island Records. So that relationship then turned into Catch a Fire, the album. In 1973, they released Burnin', and this included the song I Shot the Sheriff, which a certain Eric Clapton heard and then did a cover version of. And his version was a massive hit. It got to number 1 in the USA, and that was his first number 1 since Layla. It got a lot of exposure for the song. It went huge worldwide, but also, as a band, they were due to open for Sly and the Family Stone, and you can check them out here on the channel somewhere independently if you want to, but that was going to be a set of 17 shows that they would open up for them. Unfortunately, they were fired after 4 shows because they were too popular and they were too good before Sly and the Family Stone, so they got removed from that tour. And in 1974 is when the Wailers disbanded and all 3 members went their own separate ways to pursue their solo careers. But Bob did continue to use the full band name, even though they weren't together as a full band anymore. He had a massive hit with No Woman No Cry, and that was the version from the live album in 1975. In 1976, Rastaman Vibration went into the top 50 of the charts, and that was in the soul charts in the USA. He was also going to play at Smile Jamaica, which was a free concert in 1976. This is when the assassination attempt was carried out, as an unknown gunman was in Bob's house, and Don Taylor and his wife were also seriously injured, but thankfully they did recover, and Bob received minor wounds, and he still played exactly when he was due to, just 2 days later. And when he was asked about why he was performing so soon after that assassination attempt, he then gave his famous quote about saying that the people trying to make the world worse aren't taking a day off, so why should I take a day off? But he continued to play, and he was backed by Zap Powell during that performance because the band were missing or possibly hiding because of the events that had transpired a couple of days earlier, but 80,000 people watched that performance. In 1976, he released Exodus, and that album included One Love and Jamming. And in 1978, he returned to Jamaica to perform at the One Love Peace Concert. And this was to try and calm down the situation in the country at the time. And towards the end of his performance, he did get the opposition leaders, 2 of them, to shake hands. In 1979 is when he released Survival. And this is the same year that we're looking at here in this performance, and I believe that with this performance the album had been recorded but it hadn't been released yet, but that album would be a lot more politically charged. In 1980 he released Uprising, and this was Bob's final studio album that included Redemption Song. In 1983, after his death, Confrontation was released, and that included Buffalo Soldier. Mentioning that the Confrontation album was after his death, in 1977, he realized he had a malignant melanoma underneath his toenail, and he had the toenail and the toenail bed removed, and they took a skin graft from his thigh to then cover that over. And they did say in the hospital about removing his whole toe, but it was against his beliefs to do that. So he kept on performing. He did collapse during a jogging tour of Central Park, and when he went to hospital then, they realized that the cancer had spread to his brain but also throughout his whole body, and he then sought alternative treatments for about 8 months, so he didn't go through the hospital treatment that was advised. Unfortunately, the alternative treatments that Bob was trying, such as changing his diet, didn't have any effect on the cancer, so it was effectively untreated for those 8 months. And when he was flying back to Jamaica from Germany, his vital functions started to deteriorate, and they landed in Miami and went to a hospital, and unfortunately the melanoma had spread to his lungs as well as his brain, and he sadly died on the 11th of May in 1981 in Miami. But you can't deny the influence that he had on music, but on the world as a whole. In 1994, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in 2001. He was also placed in at number 11 in Rolling Stone magazine's 100 Greatest Artists of All Time list. And on the BBC here in the UK, One Love was voted as the Song of the Millennium. But looking back at Bob in full flow here, just that unique vocal delivery, the ability for songwriting as well, that is something that shouldn't fly under the radar, making such a point with every song that he did write. But thank you guys so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!